Investigating a missing person, Magnum and Higgins discovered a personal question they had to address. Fortunately, on Magnum PI Season 5 Episode 15, that didn't stop them from moving quickly during a challenging case. The couple also got to see the extra creases that came with using technology. They had a virtual meeting, a first for them, with 3 clients who were dispersed around continental North America and were avid players of the online game Battlecraft. The group stated that they were worried about the whereabouts of their other member, Artie, a gamer from Oahu, who had vanished. It should come as no surprise that HPD refused to look into a gamer who had stopped responding after just a few days. He was hardly worthy of being considered missing. Thus, the involvement of Thomas and Juliet. The fact that none of their clients knew Artie's home address or his full name, an acronym for his lengthy gaming name, made matters more challenging. This is one of the complexities of the digital age. Minka, the most knowledgeable of their clients, provided gaming footage, but it only revealed mental notes provided by Magnum. Luckily, Higgins, the more tech-savvy of the two, noticed Artie's takeaway order and, after gaining access to doormates, disclosed his address and identity. All they needed to validate their customers' darkest concerns was evidence of a violent battle from Kilo's Broken and Flat. When Katsumoto and APD were looped in was not immediately apparent. It should have been now, but they probably waited because of how quickly things were happening. Kilo's adversary at games proved to be a false lead, but Shui did bring them to Kilo's last known location, which was the Oahu family clinic where he worked. At that point, the main facts of the case were clear. It was also there that Thomas and Juliet, assuming the roles of future parents, started arguing on the issue of children. It makes sense that nobody has asked the question much previously. For the first 4 seasons of the show, the two were so preoccupied with dancing around their affections for one another that they wouldn't have considered about kids. It makes reasonable that having grown up in such dissimilar households, they would value rather distinct parenting philosophies, which they started debating in front of Dr. Lim. Their disagreement worked in their favor when Lim left them to gather themselves, and Juliet was able to utilize Kilo's keycard to discover that frozen embryos had been stolen the night before. Lim, who had no method of paying the requested ransom, implored them not to notify the police since the thief had threatened to destroy the embryos if they did. Upon locating Kilo's body via the GPS transmitter connected to the embryo cooling unit, they were forced to bring Gordy and APD in. When they approached him so late in the game, he wasn't pleased. But that's how they usually work around here. The robber-murderer modified his strategy and went after the most helpless patients one at a time. With the exception of Lana, a patient who ought to have raised suspicions. Why didn't Lim bring up the custody dispute about Lana's embryos, which may have put her under closer scrutiny earlier? That would have prevented the chase at the mall and the fictitious police sting. But really, that wouldn't have been nearly as thrilling. Let's now see if Thomas and Juliet continue the kids' conversation in the last 5 episodes. Things seem to be moving in that way after her pregnancy scare on episode 11 of Magnum PI Season 5. In a less compelling of the two narratives, TC undertook an unsafe kind of physical therapy. Once more, TC was drawn into doing a favor for Jin, or more precisely for Bo, Jin's ex-partner in crime. After working with Jin, one would assume that Bo would know better than to rely on him to protect his cut from their previous job while he was incarcerated. Apparently not, though. Was it any wonder that Jin had hidden the cut and then misplaced the map indicating its location? Still, the mention of the Mad Magazine fold-in type map made any adult guy feel nostalgic. TC offers to assist Bo in getting his money back because he seems to be a soft touch with Jin. In the brief period following his shooting and paralysis, TC need to be aware enough to avoid any situation that involves the term crime boss. Naturally, Jin had hidden the lost map inside a dryer that his landlord later sold. Higgins made the wise decision to assist Jin right away and send him on his way, allowing her and Thomas to focus on their more urgent case. Wasn't it impressive how well Jin, Bo, and TC convinced the poor woman that she could save energy by making a few small adjustments to her outdated dryer? After spending so much time with Magnum's BS, TC must have learned something. On Magnum PI Season 5 Episode 14, it was unclear how much had passed when TC pissed out of the VIA hospital. But really, he shouldn't have been digging so much. Jin's misrecollection was to be expected, and TC and Bo had been searching in vain. It made sense that they had him cover those two gaps.